Hey shop owners, would you like to know how to increase your profits the quick and easy way without having to hire another technician or even get more customers in the shop? That's what we're going to talk about on today's video. Meet Joe. His shop last year did $850,000 in business. He took home $100,000 for himself. And this year he'd like to give himself a 25% boost, so he wants an extra $25,000 in income. He works in the business and he also owns the business. So he has two sources of income. So if you're like the majority of shop owners that are out there, you're working in the business probably full-time or maybe even over full-time, you deserve to draw a salary for what you do in the business because the business doesn't run itself. So maybe you're selling service, maybe you're turning wrenches, maybe you're doing the books, maybe you're running customers around, running for parts. You're doing work that is required in the shop. Okay, so you deserve to get paid for it because let's face it, if you weren't there, you'd have to pay somebody else to do it, correct? So the first dollars that you take away from the shop are your salary dollars. Now, because you're putting all your blood, sweat, and tears into the business, you're working very hard, you take on all that risk, I would say at a minimum, you should be paying yourself $1,000 a week in salary. I think that's a pretty fair wage considering everything you do. Now, you probably pay yourself more than that in salary, but for purposes of this exercise, I'm going to say you're only paying yourself $1,000 per week. Now, as I mentioned, there are two sources of income that Joe has. One is the salary that we just talked about. The other is the profits. You own the business, or in this case, Joe owns the business, so he's entitled to everything that's left over after all the bills are paid. After Joe pays himself the salary, after he pays the salary and bonuses of all his employees, after he pays for the rent or mortgage, the parts, the light bill, the cable bill, whatever expenses that the business takes on, after everything is paid, whatever's left over is considered profits. Now, Joe took home $100,000 last year, so that means $48,000 of it was profits. Okay, so $52,000 was his salary, $48,000 was left over in profits. That's how we came up with the $100,000 take-home income. So let's go ahead and look at the shop profit as a percentage. Because again, moving forward, we need to know what the profitability percentage is of the business. In this particular case, Joe's business is operating at a 5.6% net profit. Now, if you're wondering how we figured that out, let me go ahead and show you the calculation. Now, Joe took home $48,000 in profits. He had $850,000 in sales. So if you would like to do this exercise for yourself, figure out how much profit your business made last year, divide it into your total sales. And in this particular case, it came up as 0.056 or 5.6%. Now, this is a very important number as we go forward in this training. So if you're unclear about this, please go back, rewind the video, and watch this again so you're very clear on this moving forward. Now, as we go forward, now remember, Joe wants to make an extra $25,000, and that's going to have to come from the profit side. Okay, we're not going to pay Joe more salary. He's going to be actually doing the exact same work that he was doing before. The business needs to generate more profits in order for him to get his extra $25,000. So let's go ahead and look at two different options of how we're going to make this work for Joe. Option number one, which is the traditional way, the way that most shop owners go about increasing their profits, is they get more sales. Okay, it only makes sense if you raise your sales, you're going to be able to improve the profitability of the business. So let's take a look at exactly how much more sales Joe is going to have to generate in his business in order to generate an extra $25,000 in sales. Well, hold on to your hat because it's a pretty big number. It's $450,000 in additional sales in order for Joe to add an extra $25,000 in profits. Now, I know this sounds unbelievable, but there's the calculation right there in front of you. $450,000 times the profitability percentage that we worked out on the previous slide, which was 5.6, that equals $25,000 in profit. So Joe's going to have to almost add an extra 50% in total sales in order for him to take home an extra $25,000 in profits. Now, on top of that, he's going to have to add more customers. He's going to have to do more advertising in order to bring in more customers. And who's going to do all the work? He's going to have to add more technicians. Okay, so as you can see, this is an awful lot of work in order to make only $25,000 in profits. Now, why is this happening? Well, let me show you a leaky bucket, because that's really what's happening to Joe's business. As a matter of fact, it happens to almost every business out there, including my own. This bucket represents your business, and all of those holes out there are where your profits are leaking out. So typically what most people will do when you have a leaky bucket is you want to keep dumping more and more water in there in order so that the bucket starts to fill up. But every time you add more water, it exposes more and more holes. In this particular case, $450,000 in sales. What's left after water leaks out all those holes in the bucket are only $25,000 in profit. So we have to fix this. So let me show you option number 2, which is actually the better option. I want you to be able to fix the profit margin. Remember, Joe's profit margin was only 5.6. Well, what would happen if we increased the profit margin? Well, to use the leaky bucket example, this would happen. Okay, we fix a few of the holes. Sure, there's going to be holes in the bucket, but the bucket is going to easily fill up much quicker. So how much more profit is Joe going to have to generate in his business? Well, it's only 3%. Now, how do I come up with that? Well, Joe's sales were $850,000. We're not going to increase Joe's sales, but what we're going to do is add an additional 3% profit on top of that. And out of that, that equals your $25,000 in additional profits. Now, what's not required is he doesn't need more customers, he doesn't need to spend more money on advertising, and he does not need more technicians. Simply by taking his profit margin from 5.6% to 8.6%, that will give Joe his $25,000 that he's looking for. Now, I hope that's clear to you. If not, please go back and watch this video again, because this is very important that you understand this concept here, because what I'm really showing you is how to work smarter versus harder. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Now, if this is the kind of content you like, please do me a big favor and click that like button below and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps out the algorithm, and it helps get this video out to more and more shop owners that are looking to improve their business. And if you are looking for additional help to help your business succeed, go down in the description below. You'll find a few links for some helpful resources. Thanks for watching.